Hello, I'm Roy. So I want to do a quick little review of the Epsilon W27s, its key features, its flaws, and all that good stuff. This is actually the second unit we've had. So we've had a bunch of issues, including layer shift issues. We've had thermostat issues, filament runoff sensor issues. And I just want to warn you guys about this before you end up purchasing one, so you know the risks, you know what it can do, and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first unit we received, let's say it was about a month ago. The unit came in, it was bent, that's what you've seen. With this one, we exchanged that one. We got really frustrated with the people we were dealing with for that previous machine because they wouldn't switch it out. They just wanted us to repair it. Well, actually, no, I take that back. It's not that they wanted us to repair it. It was they wanted us to check all these other things before we shipped it back. It's a $6,000 unit, so we were not about to do that. We returned it. They gave us a little bit of hassle about it, but we weren't having it. So we went through another company for this one. We first got this thing. It looks so cool. I will say that it comes up with blue lights and all that stuff. And it gets up. Let's see. When we first printed with this thing, we had a thermostat issue on the left extruder. On the right extruder, we had a volcanoing issue, which is I was told that it can be solved by changing up the print settings ever so slightly, which, in my opinion, volcano issues, that means the thermostat's getting hotter when it's printing some, like a smaller area, just because the filament's not running through that extruder as much. So it has a chance to get hotter, and that's what causes that kind of bubbling out effect. To show you what I'm talking about, if you look here, this is an example of a good part. See how there's no bump here? But on this part, you'll see well, this part's really bad in the first place. This was the thermostat issue we had. See all the lines? But the volcanoing issue occurs right around here. See how that bulges out? That's because of poor temperature control. So we had that issue. We reached out and we eventually got 2 new hot ends. That should fix the problem. We haven't installed it yet because we're actually shipping this one back to get another one, so that way we can make sure everything's correct with it. We also had a problem with the tilt sensors. So they use a tilt sensor in this system instead of a touch probe. Essentially what it does is it'll hit, like, say, the build plate, and if it feels that vibration or ever so slightly tilts, it triggers a tilt sensor saying, hey, I'm at that build plate, or hey, I'm touching the side, all that stuff. So the left one was okay, ran it through its paces, did great. The right one, on the other hand, though, it was pushing the build plate around, so these 2 extruders could not calibrate. So we reached back out to them again. They couldn't do anything. We had a lot of trouble returning or getting them to exchange it because they just wanted to ship us more parts to get us to fix it themselves. I do want to say, if you're about to buy one of these printers, please know what you're doing because you're going to have a lot of maintenance on this thing. And especially getting started, you're going to have to change out a lot of parts until they fix all their issues. So one of the recent prints we did, we failed more prints than we've actually succeeded at because of layer shift issues. I know what you're going to say. Layer shift issues, loose hardware, okay. Went through all of that. I tightened every bolt, tightened every nut in this thing. We still have it. Also, I can go in here, I can yank on this, and it's not going to move because it's really sturdy. Same thing with the x-axis for both extruders. They will not move. So there's no way something could be loose. On top of that, when it shifts, sometimes it goes into like this weird loop where it will shift over, move over again, or shift over that same direction, do it again, shift over again. And what it causes is this really weird effect. So this is what we just printed off. As you can see, it's shifted in the x-axis. But on the y-axis, it's really weird because it shifted over, continued extrude, shifted over again, and it got to the point where it actually crashed itself into the front of the machine. So it crashed right here, and then it would go back and crash itself again. And it was hitting it so hard that
it just keeps banging itself on the chassis.
It definitely didn't overheat because of it overheated. Well, it was running, the build plate was at 50 degrees Celsius. We have a cooling fan in the back. So there's no way that this thing overheated. So all in all, but let's talk about some of the good things. It's a really big build volume. That's why we got it. We got it for larger items, so we could fill up the build plate and turn them all off. Obviously, this unit's defective. You're probably going to receive a defective unit. You're probably going to have to fix it. But once it runs, it's actually halfway decent. Luckily, BCN has a 1-year warranty. They're pretty good about shipping parts, even though it probably take you a month. That's another thing. If you're going to buy one of these things, make sure it works. Get it a month before you actually need it, because it's going to take a month to actually repair this thing and get it up and working. We had the thermostat issue, like I was saying before. We contacted them. They said, hey, it's not a thermostat, it's something else. So I proved to them that it wasn't, that it was indeed the thermostat. Eventually they said, okay, yes, thermostat. Contacted BCN. So that was about a week to get them to actually contact BCN. Once we contacted BCN, BCN was pretty quick about it. They were like, hey, we've seen this issue before. This is a thermostat. We had a bad batch of thermostats, yada, yada. However, it's really hard to get parts right now. So they had shipped those, I want to say they shipped them 3 weeks ago, and we just now got them. So that's a lot of downtime you're going to see. Not to mention that we found these other problems on top of that. So that would take even longer to actually get parts. But yeah, like I said, just be careful when you're getting this thing. Be very savvy with knowing how to work on the machine. The machine's fairly easy to work on once you touch it. I will say when it actually calibrates, that's another issue. When it actually calibrates the build plate, it doesn't do a good job. We have a back corner that is always high when we calibrate it. What I would assume it is when you have a build plate this large, it is very difficult for it not to warp or anything like that. You're going to have places where it's high, places where it's low, especially when it comes in contact with heat. It's going to want to warp in different ways, which is where like a mesh leveling kind of comes into effect. So something with a really large build plate, like a Modix big box or something like that, they have that kind of stuff because they know that it's going to warp. I'm very surprised we don't have this on this machine, just because the price point is at $6,000. You're paying the same as the Modix big box. And that big build plate, you just can't level it like that. You actually at least have to have 4 screws if they're going to use this kind of leveling system, because it can dip down the center while all corners are high. And when it probes it, it actually only probes one spot here, one spot here, one spot here, one spot here. So it doesn't even check these back corners for how high they are. Hopefully an update will fix that. But yeah, just be really careful. I really hope BCN fixes these problems, because it would be a fantastic unit if they do. But for now, I don't know if it's really worth $6,000, maybe like $4,500, maybe $4,000, with all this going on. I'm not really a famous YouTuber or anything like that. I just want to say this to get this knowledge out here so people know what they're getting when they get a Sigmax, or not a Sigmax, an Epsilon.
So to kind of add on what I was saying in the previous few clips, the volcanoing issue, yes, that can be fixed with the slicer. However, when you pay that much, you expect that to work and not have to do any fancy stuff within the slicer. One of the things that could fix this also is better temperature control, like I was saying, because if you monitor that temperature, you're not going to have that extra oozing, which that's what it seems to be. but I can't say that for sure because I have not tested it. Also, after kind of giving the printer a quick rundown and evaluation after the whole print and all that good stuff, finally realized what was going on with the whole layer shift. So the initial layer shift, yeah, that still, I'm guessing that's some hardware unit, so something dealing with software, I don't know. However, it did seem like one of those motors got hot in the x-axis. So that motor burns out, it seems like. I didn't think it would burn out because it was cooler temperatures in the chamber, but I guess I was wrong. So that motor burnt out, and then for the z-axis, when I went to calibrate it again, rather than going up to actually meet the tilt sensor, or not the tilt sensor, but the tip of the extruder so it can trigger the tilt sensor, the build plate would actually go down. And every single time I would try to calibrate it, it would continue going down. So I went ahead and did a hard reset. It didn't have any effect. So all in all, be very careful with this machine. Yes, there are great YouTube videos out there. BCN's really good about that. They give so much information on this machine, so it's very easy to repair. However, you got to know what to look for. So be careful with that. Hopefully these issues will be fixed. It has been a problem child from the get-go. However, we're getting a new one in here hopefully next week. With this new unit, people who we got it from had tested it in-house. Everything seemed checked out. They claimed to say that they checked the filament runout sensor. Both of them were okay. They claimed to check the extruders. The extruders were okay. Everything was printing. There was no under extrusion or over extrusion in any places, except it also still had that volcanoing issue. So all in all, I would group this in with like the CraftBots Flow XL, if that's what it's called. I don't know. Give me your opinion. I'm really stymied on this one. I want this thing to work so bad because it has the potential to be so good. But as is, if I were to do it all over again, I don't know if I'll really get one. But hopefully, their systems get improved and we no longer see these issues. I'm not trying to beat on BCN. I mean, I guess the whole video was kind of beating on BCN. I really don't want to. I really want you guys to do good, but it's just not there for me. Well, so there you go. You got the video. Do with what you want with this information. Hopefully things get better, but as for now, I couldn't say I would recommend one just because we're on our third printer now. So, and the second one, it just had a slurry issues. Hopefully this third one will work out well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.